Now we're going to talk about that second question. What are 21st century life skills? They're skills that young children need as they build relationships with significant others throughout their lives. They're essential to the future of childhood and to our society, and can be promoted in everyday ways through everyday things. Think about this, their everyday ways. Taking turns, making connections, making choices in play, following directions. The notion of relationships where you participate in cleanup time and you wait your turn to play in the water and you sort things, the likenesses and differences, and then you select a center or a friend. So you're creating the whole time in your everyday ways with everyday things.
And you know, Ellen Galinsky wrote a book called Mind in the Making, and in that book she included and grouped 10 years of child development and neuroscience research. And she grouped her findings into 7 critical areas that children need most to be prepared for the pressures and challenges of modern life. Skills that children will need now and for years to come. So take a close look at those 7. Taking on challenges, taking the perspective of others, being self-directed, communicate, practice self-control, problem solve, critical thinking, and making connections.
Now it's time for you to think about this. Brainstorm examples of each of those 7 skills identified by Ellen Galinsky. List them in your journal, what they might look like in your classroom. We will pause for a while for you to take advantage of this kind of thinking.
So, Bobby, what are some examples that you were thinking about?
Well, I was thinking about the conversations that the children have during playtime. You know, they talk about what they did at home, what they're doing at school. I used to really go in and listen closely to the conversation, just really to see what kind of sentences they were making and how they were actually listening to one another.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking about taking on challenges. That's what you see every day, that children are involved in coming up with the solutions if we allow them to. So, solutions for dealing with conflicts, for making plans, for handling difficult tasks.
Oh, mercy, and practicing self-control. You know, remembering the rules and exercising some self-regulation. Maybe one of the most important one that she talks about is making connections. Finding out what is the same and different. You know, sorting things into categories. Remember, these children are turning 4 and turning 5 and you know, they're beginning to be self-directed and working independently. So they're developing all kinds of skills for the 21st century.
And we are sure that you thought of other practical examples. So we're going to look at another picture here. Take just a minute and think about what is happening here in this picture that represents those 21st century life skills. And if we were to look at the North Carolina Teacher Evaluation Process Manual, pages 12 and 13, you would see similar ideas from Galinsky included there as well. The manual talks about working collaboratively, working together. That's what these children are doing. I'm pretty sure they're problem solving to get those puzzle pieces in. That requires some critical thinking. That requires collaboration. And look how each of them makes an individual contribution in getting this puzzle completed. Look at the intentions and the intent with which they are working. It's awesome to see children like that working together.
Oh, 21st century life skills become a reality when they're encouraged in playful ways, promoted in age-appropriate ways, simple everyday happenings, focusing on building the child's respect for one another. And when what they call emotional less discipline techniques are used. So what does emotional less mean? It means the teacher managing his or her own emotions, guiding yourself intentionally, and setting goals. So young children begin to sense that they can relate to their sense of self and their sense of self to others and set some reasonable goals for themselves. So refer to the North Carolina Foundations of Early Learning Development Strategies on page 134, where they talk about confidence, taking personal responsibility as a member of a group. You know what that is? That's taking turns.
Wow. And that is something you need your entire life. So we're going to show you next a small video clip about a little girl named Lily and her friends. We want you to look at this video and then see what skills you see being expressed by Lily and her friends.
Can Lily take a turn? Your turn, Lily. Yeah. Show her where it goes, Ricky. Good job, Lily. Rachel, can you share with Valentine? Can he see what you're doing? Here, Valentine, sit down. Can you share? Show Valentine what you're doing, Rachel. Say look, Valentine. Can you share? Is that an eagle? Yeah. Sure.
So this was a clip of a Colorado Department of Education video in the Results Matter series. Go to that site. We have it in our resources on the Live Binder. But in this clip, did you notice how children did respect one another? Did you notice how they worked together? How they communicated? How they problem solved and took turns? And all of that was facilitated by the teacher when it was needed. But the kids did a lot on their own, including that self-directedness and that self-discipline that Bobby talked about earlier. This is a great example of what 21st century life skills look like.
Now here we have a picture of 21st century life skills. We could keep it to ourselves while we picked it, but you'd like to see there are playful ways there. Looks like they're following directions that the teacher's giving. Some sense of regulation, they're not climbing the walls, and certainly respect for one another. Think about the North Carolina Foundations for Early Learning and Development Standards, and the one where they talk about emotional and social domain, learning about feelings. So what could you talk about here? Being happy, having a sense of pride of being able to do something, being part of a group. Such important skills for later in life.
So now we have another video clip for you to look at. In the next video, we want you to look for 21st century life skills, diversity and global awareness opportunities that you could build on if you were the teacher of this classroom. Again, record or share your ideas. Use your journal or talk to a colleague. What can you build on? Take a look. We hope that you noticed some classroom materials, some classroom areas, some toys, some books that you went like, oh, I could do something with that. And you know what? This time we're not going to give you any answers because we want you to do one more thing. We want you to exit in a moment and go to the tab that is listed on the live binder called Your Ideas. Open it up and look for reflection topics. When you're there, you will find 21st century skills. It's a slideshow. We want you to open it. You will see a series of pictures. Every time you see a picture, you can pause the slideshow because we want you to write in your journal or discuss with someone else what it is you could do to build on based on what it is that you see in each of those pictures. So again, find the 21st century skills slideshow, pause the show for each picture, look at it closely, and write down your responses. Then when you're finished, take a look at the slideshow summary in that same section and compare your findings with the ones that you see listed on that handout.